Good afternoon, I'm Irene Bark, the head of the Goethe-Institut Helsinki. It's a big pleasure to welcome you on the occasion of the panel discussion, Can Water Sue?
Does the new legal status proposed for water bodies provide better ecological protection for them? Or does it create new conflicts of interest? Moreover, what are the interests of the waters? How can they be defined? And who gets to represent each water body? And through what kind of a process?
I want to talk about the difference between subjects of law and objects of law, which is the base of the idea of rights of nature as well. We have on the side of subjects of law, obviously, persons, human beings, but also juridical persons such as private companies or state entities. States itself, for example, are legal persons or subjects of law. And on the other side, we have objects of law, such as just things like bicycles, for example.
Western society sees humans and the natural world as separate. We think humans are not part of the natural world. We think we are above or outside of it. We are entitled to see natural objects, of natural entities as objects for that we can exploit as resources, while we say we should consider these natural entities as subjects with stakes and rights and their own stories.
We believe that the center of how you receive everything, the voices of everything in the world, is here. It's in the gut, because it is a bodily reception. You listen to the waves, but you can also smell it, and you can feel the humidity on your skin. So all of these things are a way for the waters to make their voice known to us. But when that disappears, how do we know how to listen? We don't do that in Sami context. We believe that each entity in its own right is worthy of having a subjective will, is worthy of having their voice listened to without being compared to humanity. So when the question comes, can water sue? For me, that answer, well, first of all, that answer should, of course, but also it shouldn't be a question of whether water can sue. It should be a question of how do we rearrange the judicial frameworks of the Western capitalistic colonial world that we all are forced to live in, to include respect for everything, not only ourselves. I think the solution is, art. It is the areas where we allow for discursiveness to happen. And the thing is, people have a tendency to sort of look away from the arts. The truth is, art is one of the spaces where we really can challenge and do discursive practices, because it's not taken seriously within national lawmaking systems, right? It's, they're artists, they're just doing that because it's arts, it's about self-expression. No, actually, art is about saving the world.
We can't just say, water has the right to go to court, whatever that may be, but we need to define clearly in some kind of law, or would it be international treaties or something, how we define what is the body that we're actually talking about.
The concept of rights of nature is, I think, intellectually very stimulating, and one of the reasons why it's intellectually stimulating is because it's one of those areas where you realize that the more you learn, the less you know. I find that this is a concept which raises a lot of questions, and possibly raises more questions than we can answer. But what actually is the body of water that we're endowing with rights here? And I can give you one example. In a previous job, I worked with the Wadden Sea, the Dutch, Danish, German Wadden Sea, which is, for parts of the day, water, and for parts of the day, land. And that comes back to something you said. So which element of that sea are we representing? Are we representing it when it's land, or when it's water, or both? And do these two, if you want to separate these two, do they have the same interests? So that's a very, very difficult question to answer. And then we have to answer the next question. We want one body of water to be endowed with rights. And here we come back to what Peter said. well, why just that one body of water? Why not nature as a whole, which is also something which is discussed in the rights of nature discussion. Why not nature as a whole?
Sea is also something that is taking care of us. So about 50% of the carbon dioxide that we are releasing in our industrial processes is integrated into the sea. And things would have been much, much, much worse if we didn't have the sea that could absorb the carbon dioxide through algae and physically in the sea, and especially in colder seas. And there's a lot of threats towards this environment. And just a couple of years ago, 22, I think, there was an American billionaire who went down with a submarine down to the Mariana Trench. And he went down there 11 kilometers down to the bottom, and he set up his cameras and so on, and he took a shot. And the first shot he took on was a plastic bag. So that really shows how big influence humanity have had on the planet. And even if we don't like it or not, we don't like it, but all over this planet, and on land and sea, humans have had an influence. And that also, from my perspective, means that we are also responsible for this. We just have to solve it. And we cannot sort of say to the sea, here, you have now a legal, solve it yourself. You will not. We are responsible, and we have to handle it in some way. I think that is very, very important.
Out of this humility, I think we need to then question all of the institutions we've put in place, all of the legal frameworks we've put in place, all of these things that we feel so sure we found the answer to, because they raise more and more questions. I'm trying to assess who is there. What are we knowing in this situation? What are we caring about? Who has the agency to change something here? And then this is, in a way, the creative process when you're engaging in a group like this, and I felt like we were all trying to do this when we were talking, that we thought, where are the possibilities to change this into a preferable situation, into something that actually makes more sense and that gives us a future on this planet?